Hello everyone. In this lecture, we are going to do an introduction to Java programming. In this module, you will learn about the basic structure of a Java program, how to create a class, how to output something to the console, and how to get inputs from the user. Here is the first Java program, which is naturally the Hello World application. And you're going to see this is a very simple application with just outputting a string to the screen. And the output on the console will be hello world. Here's our second program. This is a little bit more complex than the first program. And you're going to see that we have included the package. Our package name is introduction. Then the class name is second Java program, public class second Java program over here. And then we have a main method which is public static void. We are going to learn about what these keywords mean, especially static, in our further lectures. And in this program, we are introducing certain variables, certain integer variables, and we have a variable named a, which is initialized to 1. We have an integer variable b, which is initialized to 2. And then we have a result variable which is initialized to 0. And in this application, we are adding a and b and assigning the result to the result, the variable result, and then we are going to output the result onto the screen. The result of a, the result of 1 plus 2 is, then we are going to show the result, and then we are going to put a dot at the end. And naturally, the output on the console is the result of 1 plus 2 is 3. Now let's analyze the code. The package name is package introduction. In this line, the package is defined and named as introduction. Now in Java, the commands are presented with this signs. There's a slash and then there's a star. And you can write whatever command that you need for your application, and then we are going to end it with a star and the backslash again. And here's the example for it. As this, I extended this application with commands, and here's the example. Here's I start the command, and here's where I end it, and I can write whatever I want within this command block over here. As you can see, the commands are also colored green. And there's another way for commenting, and we are going to use 2 slashes to comment certain code. And when I use these 2 slashes, it will only comment until the end of the line. So I can do a block comment with these signs, and I can do a line comment with these 2 slashes. Now, this is where I write my class name, public class second Java program. The class keyword is used to define the class, second Java program. And the main method is written in this line. And then I use curly braces to indicate the start and end of the main. Now, there are 2 variables such as a and b, and they are initialized to 1 and 2 respectively. And there's another integer variable. The name of the variable is result, which is defined here and initialized to 0. And with this line, with this statement, the result is calculated. Now, as you can see, the syntax is very similar to C and C++. Actually, Java uses that notation. So switching from C and C++ to Java is easier. And with this line, system.out.println, the result is output to the console. And whatever we write within these quotation marks are printed out on the screen. And now I can add further string using the plus signs over here. and there is this result variable, which was normally an integer, but the Java automatically converts this integer variable to string to output on the screen. And then I can add a dot at the end to show a structured output in the screen. Now, in programming, we commonly need to get input from the user. And let's see an example of how to get an input from the user. To do that, we are going to utilize a Java package from the Java util library. And we will use methods from the scanner package that's part of the Java util library. And the way we import packages are writing the keyword import and then writing the package name after the import. And then we are going to end it with a dot and comma. And this line will enable me to import the necessary package scanner. Now, this scanner package will be used to input from users. Now let's do adding two numbers, and this is my third Java program, and I named this class as third Java program. And here is how I can create a scanner object. Scanner, this is to denote the scanner package, and this is a naming the object. Now I use the same name such as scanner, but I do not have to use the same name. I may use another name, but in this particular example, I use the same name, and then I'm creating an object using the scanner constructor. And we will learn about constructors in our lectures that are detailing the classes. And I need an input, a parameter such as system.in. And I'm initializing my variables, defining and initializing my variables such as A, B, and result. Now they are all initialized to 0. And I'm printing out, please enter the first number onto the screen, and then using this statement, A is equal to scanner.nextInt, to get an input, to get an integer input from the user using the console. Now I'm outputting, please enter the second number, and using the similar statement that I'm getting from the scanner object with nextInt, and then I'm assigning what the user inputs to variable B. Now I'm adding these two variables, and then I'm assigning them to the result. And of course, I want to output these the result of this addition to the console, and the result of adding these two numbers is result dot. And a common practice when using scanner objects is to close these objects. As you can see, I'm using scanner.close to close the scanner object's input. And as you can see, these are scanner are objects, and then using the dot notation, I'm using methods such as nextInt and close to call methods that are related to this scanner object. And as another common notation when writing Java programs is to end certain blocks with notations such as end of main or end of class third Java program. Now, in simple programs, it's easier to identify where these blocks end, but in large programs, it's helpful to include such commands to identify where our blocks end. Now, the output on the console is as follows. First, the compiler will print out, please enter the first number, then I'm going to input 5. Then the compiler will output, please enter the second number, then I'm going to enter 6, and then the compiler will output to the console. The result of adding these two numbers is 11. Now, Java has an extensive package library. This is actually one of the strengths of the Java, and Java developers have developed many different packages throughout the Java development, and we can use these packages for various purposes, and that's why Java became so popular, because it comes with many packages, unlike C and C++ during its first years of development. Now, in this example, we utilize the scanner package, and the package is important with the following statement: import JavaUtil scanner. Now, the first part is the JavaUtil library, and the package that we are using is scanner. Now, the scanner package has methods to help us get inputs from the console. And some of the methods from the scanner package are next, nextInt, nextFloat, and nextLine. And next is used to input a string. NextInt is used to input an integer. NextFloat is used to input a float. And then nextLine is used to input a line as a string. Now, to use methods from the scanner package, first we need to create a scanner object, and the object name is named as scanner. Now, remember we talked about it, the name does not have to be the same as the class name, but with scanner objects and certain objects, we generally use the same name. And the following statement is used to accept an integer input. Scanner.nextInt is assigned to A. So after the user inputs an integer, that's stored on the variable A. Now, here's another program that we go into details of using the scanner package. Again, we are importing the scanner package, and then we name this example with a class name scanner example, and we are going to have a main method. And within the main method, we are going to create a scanner object. And then we have three different variables. One is an integer, the other is a float, and the other one is a string. Now, as you can see, I use meaningful variable names, as it's the common notation in Java, such as integer number, float number, and you'll commonly see that strings are named with variable names such as str, which is denotes to string, and then we are going to see that this string is initialized to null. And I believe you already know about null in your earlier programming languages. And strings are naturally arrays of characters, and then we can initialize these to null, indicating that that does not have anything in it. And here I'm outputting please enter an integer number, and then I'm getting the integer using the scalar.nextInt, and I'm assigning that input to the integer number. Again, similarly, I'm getting a float, and then I'm assigning that input to a float number variable. Then I'm getting a string from the user, and then I'm using scanner.next to input the string object, to get the string object from the user, and assigning that input to the variable str. And then I'm printing out these onto the screen. And naturally, I'm going to close my scanner object using scanner.close. Now, the output on the console of the application is as follows. First, the compiler will print out please enter an integer number. In this particular example, I input 7, and then the compiler will ask me to enter a float number. In this particular example, I put 9.9, and then I'm going to input a string such as programming, and it will show the numbers that I put, such as 7, 9.9, and the string is programming. Here is another example that we are going to format the outputs on the screen. So I named this class as string format example, which this is very similar to our previous application. So let me just continue. And here I want to show you a use of println, as in this case, this is statement of next line. It's just going to print an empty line on the screen so that it can help me to have a better output on the screen. And while I can use println, which means actually print line, so it's shortened over here, but I can also achieve the same purpose using print, but in this case I'm going to use /n, meaning new line, to enter into the next line. And here are how we can format certain output on the screen. Now these are similar to what you are used to in C and C++, and %d is used for formatting an integer, %f is used for formatting a float, and %s is used for a string. Now I'm going to use printf rather than print or println here. So system.out printf, and within the quotation marks I'm going to denote what type of variables that I'm using. I'm using d for integers, f for float, and s for a string. And then rather than using plus signs, I'm using commas here, and the compiler will match each of these variables by using these percentages. So %d will be associated with the integer number, and %f will be associated with the float number variable, and %s will be associated with the string. And here is how to format the float in a more fine granular way. And the formatted float is %.2f, meaning that 2 digits after the dot notation. So this will show me the float number with 2 digits after the dot. And then I'm going to close my scanner object here, and let's see the output on the console. And please enter an integer number. I use 3. And then please enter a float number. I use 5.9. And then I use then the console. In the console I'll see please enter a string. Then I inputted programming, and the outputs are as follows. Remember that I'm outputting 3 parameters here, such as the integer number, float number, and string, and the inputs are 3. Now this is the float number. While I input 5.9, this shows in a full format, which is going to add some zeros toward the end, and then it's going to show the strings such as programming. And if we remember that I limit the number of digits after the dot with 2, so here the float will be formatted such as 5.90. So after the dot there are only 2 digits, and this is shown as 5.9. And this is the end of our module that we talk about the introduction to Java programming, and we show certain examples that you can use to get familiar with the Java and its notation.